Hey, what's going on? This is Ugo Opera, PA licensed real estate agent and investor and coach. I forgot to keep saying that. But just wanted to walk through this is a property, it's already under contract, but just wanted to go over a lot of the things that were done right, mainly on the first floor in the kitchen area, just so those of you who are, doing flips or just so you have a good idea of what a decent layout is. And I'm going to point out some of the things, some of the differences that you're going to need to make when you're doing a rental versus a property that you plan to flip. So yeah, and one of the things I want to start off by saying is that for me and what I teach my coaching clients is your biggest bang is always made when you're buying distressed properties, deeply distressed properties, things that are super ugly. If you go back and watch some of my more recent videos, you'll see an example of exactly what I'm talking about, because what I'm walking through and looking at is really ugly. So there's very little differences between a property that I'm doing as a rental and a property that I'm doing as a flip, because I get them at such cheap numbers that, the differences are negligible, because we have to redo everything anyways, right? We have to redo everything anyway. So so let's go ahead and get started. So this is a front door. So anytime you're doing a flip, go with a nice front door, right? It doesn't have to be colored. Everyone's doing this whole color trend. That should be the least of your worries. You can have a nice, plain, vanilla white door. But what is important is the trim and the presentation of it. A lot of people try to save by keeping the trim and they'll paint over the trim, but I feel like that's a fool's mistake. Get new trim. If you got to hang a whole new door, most likely not always the case, but it's always better to get trim. And trim is the white, this white thing all around it. That's super important. Make sure the door sits plush. You know what I mean? Make sure there's no gap, no draft, no anything. Just make sure it's a solid door. Make sure, all your, locking mechanisms properly go into where it's supposed to go into. Right? Make sure it catches. A lot of times people don't have doors that close all the way and catch, which is idiotic. Make sure it catches top and bottom. Make sure there is a top and bottom. And be mindful that by code, you cannot have any type of anything that needs the keys. All the keys have to be on the exterior, and you have to have the knobs on the inside. You cannot have locks where you need keys on the outside as well as the insides, because in the event of a fire, you shouldn't have to rush to find your key to get out the house, right? So that is not cool, right? Things like this, right? So clearly this outlet, it was not going to fit in here, but the way that they put it in and cleaned it up is nice. So anytime you're making impromptu things to make it fit, just clean it up and make it look nice. You know what I mean? And that looks fine. Could they have done better with it? Sure. Right? But for what they do have, they made it look nice. Fresh paint, nice, all new trim, is looking good. One of the things that I really, really like is when you have an indoor or enclosed porch, that's what this is, going with the tile on the entry point is fantastic. Or if you're going with tile, or if you're not going to do tile the whole thing, then at least do tile for, like the little landing pad. So where this carpet is, or rug or mat, you might want to just do tile in this area and then do whatever you want for the rest of the place. But I think adding tile for the entry is a really good thing. And then adding ample lighting, brand new windows, lots of lights. Fantastic. This is a nice little foyer area, and you have to do new windows in this foyer area, because what's going to happen is that it's going to be a huge energy suck. See how if you're going to go with this open concept where you have this door open, you have to do brand new windows. And again, when I'm buying my properties, I'm doing brand new windows anyways, whether it's a rental or a flip. I would come in here, this would all get gutted, tore down. We would reframe it, new insulation, new windows, all new electrical, close it back up, and we're rolling, right? See the consistency with the light fixtures, right? See the same color hue of the lighting, little basic stuff like that. But I kid you not, all of my buyers notice this stuff. And then from there, it just opens up into beautiful hardwood floors, right? Flooring is super important. A lot of people make the mistake and they don't put as much emphasis as they should on their flooring. Flooring, number one, has to be leveled. You don't want to walk through and feel unevenness or, or things like that. Dips every here and there is perfectly fine, but they can't be massive dips. The floor should be solid all the way through, and you shouldn't feel like you're, that the floor is bouncy as you're doing your walk, right? You should make sure everything is clear and solid, and when you walk in, the joint is tight. The joint is tight, so when you turn this corner, bro, you take everyone's breath away. This is a beautiful, beautiful entryway. There's no questions about it. The floors look fantastic. They run all the way through, and it just looks great. For me, when I'm buying a rental and I'm buying a flip, it doesn't matter. All new flooring. All new flooring. A lot of people say, oh, well, put a carpet in your rental because it's cheaper. Horrible idea, right? The only place I might even put a carpet in would be, maybe in the bedrooms or maybe the second floor or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, I'm running I'm running hardwood, not even hardwood. I'm running laminate. I'm running engineered laminate. I never pay more than $2 for my laminate. So that's purchasing the laminate itself as well as the underlayment. I never go more than $2 for the material on my flooring. And, these are things I kind of get into talking with the coaching clients. So yeah, but anyways, beautiful, right? All new windows, all new paint, all new outlet covers, all new outlets, right? I never recycle outlets. You have your thermostat here, which is nice, right? Typically you'll see it mounted on, something over here, but because they have the open staircase, open base, it's open going down to the basement. There's nothing to mount to that. So I think by putting it here, this isn't a bad location for it. I like that little impromptu shelf right there. Just clean, pretty straightforward. What I do want to show off is the amount of lighting, right? It's bright. It's bright. And I think that when you're doing these projects, a lot of people they just don't focus enough on lighting. You can't go wrong with adding too much. There's no such thing as there's too much lighting. You know what I mean? It's too bright. All you got to do is dim it down. That's never going to be a problem. The problem is when you don't have enough lighting. That's when it becomes a problem. Right? It's straight, it runs along. You always want that airplane effect. You see what I mean? You see that little runway airplane effect? That's what you always want. And pay attention to where you're putting the light switches. I walk in, light switches are right here. It's not over here, right? It's right here. Another good place to put it would be right here, right? And the reason that makes sense is so as soon as you walk in, you can turn the lights on, whether it's over here or over there, right? Don't have that be the light. This should not be the light switch to turn the lights in the living room on, right? I've gone into some properties and they're putting their light switches all the way over here. So think about it. You're walking into this property, it's pitch dark, and you got to maneuver all the way here to get to the light switch. Big mistake. It should only go here or it should only go here. And they did the right thing. They put it right there. And they have an outlet right there, right? Outlets should always be right underneath whatever light switch is, mainly because 9 times out of 10, most people are getting the security system, and that's probably where it's going to go. It's either going to go there, or there. I mean, they have a bunch of options. Only thing that should have been done, right, is cable ready. Make the property cable ready. So get it next time, right? But that's pretty straightforward. I mean, a living room is pretty straightforward. You know what I mean? One of the things that was added, little outlet here, right? If they want to mount the TV, would have been nice, like I said, to have the cable ready here, but get that next time. And just don't put the cable ready in one spot. Give them another option, right? So maybe I put it here, and then I put cable ready here, and then maybe I put another one over there. Something where you got multiple options and you're not forced in regards to where you're going to put whatever you want to put. Give people the options, because now you open up yourself to a wider demographics. Open concept kitchens are probably the best way to go about doing things. If you can squeeze in a dining room, squeeze in a dining room. But if you can't squeeze in a dining room, focus on giving them a really decent sized island and able to pull both off in this property, right? So dining area is right here. And when you're working with the dining area, you always want to try to give some type of exclusive lighting. So this light switch here controls this light, these two lights here that are right underneath where, the dining room is supposedly supposed to be. So this allows it where you can put, a couple chairs right here in this corner and you're good to go. And then peep the number of outlets. We got 1, 2, 3. Flood them with outlets. You throw in as many outlets as you possibly can. You can't go wrong with. There's no such thing as there's too many outlets. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And again, dining rooms are not mandatory. It's great when you have it. You know, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be ginormous. As long as there's a little nook where you can put a table or whatever the case may be. But if you can't have that, then the focus has to be on your island. And that is what we got going on here. Let me put this over just a little bit. And let me just pull up the measurements I made on my computer. So, I think this is probably, you know, and there's so many different ways to do the kitchen, but this is one that turned out really nice. That's my bag and laptop, so forgive me. But this turns out to be really, really nice. And some of the things that people go wrong when they're doing an island is this. Number one, you always want to add the pendants. So you got the 2 pendants there, right? Put it on its own light switch, right? Number two, you always want to have outlets. So if you look right there, you'll see the outlet that's on the island. I typically prefer to put them on the sides, one here or one there. If I could, I would have went back and did 2 outlets, one on this side and one on this side, right? That's what I would have did, but it, you know, it is what it is. And so I just want to go over the measurements. So this island, the length of it is 93 inches long, and it's 37 inches wide. So from here to the bottom is 93, right? And then from here to this side, all the way over to this side, we're talking about 37 inches. And the lip of this 37 inches, we got 11-inch lip. So from here, right here, right, where the cabinet stops, all the way over to here is what you call the lip, and that's about 11. Typically, we try to go to 12, but it just is what it is, right? And that's important because you need this overhang to properly, you know, use it as an island, right? Some people chop this off, and now it's not as functional. But adding this lip makes it super functional. You can pull up the chairs and things like that. Have a laptop here, plug it in. You can actually use it as a table. Without that, it's kind of almost defeats the purpose. All right, so that's decent. You have a 30-inch on your sink base, right? I typically don't like to throw this in the middle like this. I typically would have pushed this. I probably would have swapped where this sink is with the washer and dryer. And the only reason I would do that is because right now this is in the middle. It's in the middle of this island. If you were to move this to the edge, you would reclaim a lot more of consistent of shelf space, right? It would look more like this, where if you could picture this oven as being a sink, you would have all of this as shelf space. And that's what I would do differently. I would have moved the location of the sink, probably put it to this end or this end, right? It's the only thing I would do differently here. I love that. I love the button as the for the garbage disposal. That's the best way to do that. There was in one house that I went into and they didn't have this, but what they did have was on the other side of the kitchen was a switch that turned on the garbage disposal that was on this side. So that didn't make sense. I was like, why would you put it all the way here? Just put it here. And this is what you do. And this is nice. It doesn't, you know, this is chrome, this is brushed nickel, doesn't even matter. As long as it looks close enough, you're good to go, right? So I always go deep on the sinks, whether it's a rental or not. Always go deep on the sinks, get something nice. I don't do the divider. I always open it up because now you can do more with it. I feel like the dividers kind of limit you, I think, but you know, to each his own, to each his own. Garbage disposal, I don't put garbage disposals in my rental, but I put them in all of my flips, right? Don't put garbage disposals in my rentals, but I put them in all of my flips. If you've ever read the book, the Section 8 Bible, garbage disposals is just another thing that your tenant can call that can mess up, whatever the case may be. Another thing is the space in between here, right? So for this one, from the bottom of these cabinets all the way to over here, you're looking at, I think, 43 inches, 42 or 43 inches. Minimum that you want to give is 36. And the reason you want 36 is so that you're able to pop one of these down and have enough space to still slide something into it, right? Without it hitting over or hitting anything on this side, right? 36 inches is the bare minimum. And when I do 36, I'm not measuring from the bottom to bottom because there's somewhat of a lip here. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. There's somewhat of a lip here. I'm talking 36 from the edge of the top of the countertop over here all the way to the edge of the countertop over here, just so we're all on the same page. And then you have the dishwasher. I do not put dishwashers in my rentals, but I put them in all of my flips. Dishwashers are typically what, 24, 26, but you want to give them 30. Yeah, I think they're typically 24. Sinks are typically 30. And I think that cabinet is a little bit small. I think that one's a 26. But typically I just do 30, 30, 30, right? So my islands are typically 90. I'm either going to have a 90-inch island or a 60-inch island. And typically what I'll do is I'll do 30-inch sink base, and I'll put the washer and dry dishwasher right here. So you'll have the sink base, dishwasher, and we're rolling. But recently I've been kind of bumping them out. Instead of a 30, if I can, then I'll go and do a 72. So it'll be 30-inch. You'll have a 30-inch sink base. You have a 30-inch base cabinet, and then you'll have a 12-inch mini cabinet at the end of it. Similar to what this is, right? Similar to what this is. This is a tiny cabinet. I think this is about maybe 8 inches or something like that. So this would, similar to like a spice rack or something. Another thing I do, I don't know if you guys saw that, is I do soft close. Soft close on everything, whether it's a rental or not. I always do soft close. I don't do white cabinets on my rentals. White just for me tends to get dirtier quicker. I also don't do handles on my rentals. Again, Section 8 Bible is out here teaching me. So I just do the ones where it's a little bit of there's like a nook. There's a nook. Instead of handles, you have a little nook that you can go into and open and close whatever, so that, I'm not failing inspections because cabinets have broken handles and things of that nature. But that's pretty much it. Everything else, you can just kind of rock and roll with it. Backsplashes, some of my rentals, I don't put backsplashes in, but I typically am always going to put backsplashes in all my things moving forward. Just because it comes out better, and I want to make it sure that it comes out better because I'm trying to get a higher appraisal. So I try to do that. And if I'm not doing a backsplash, then I try to up the ante and do something fancy somewhere else. Like this bottom light. I like the bottom lights. So those are things that I try to put in all my rentals and all my flips, especially if I'm not doing a backsplash on a rental. But honestly, I haven't seen a difference. Whether there's a backsplash or not, as long as the place looks sharp, people are still more than willing to rent the property out. No issues, right? So if I'm able to save money on that, then we're good to go. We're good to go. I like the oven. Always do a 30-inch oven. You can always get bigger. You can even get smaller if you want to. You can apartment style oven if the space is tight. So typically, when would the space be really tight? Maybe you're in a studio, right? Maybe you're in a studio, an apartment, and you're pressed for space, or you just have a tiny kitchen living room area, and that's just what you got. You're just doing the best that you can with what you got. Always do the oven, microwave, or always do the microwave, or you could do an oven. A lot of people starting to do the ovens up top with the vents. A lot of people starting to do the ovens up top with the vents. I still just put the microwaves in my rentals and my flips, just because it all comes as a kitchen package with wherever I'm going, and I just rock and roll with that. Another thing that I always put in rentals and in my flips, especially in my flips, I put fridges that have the water line, right? Fridges that have the water line are just something that I think is cool, and it's an extra feature that I think is worth having. Actually, I lied. I don't put those in my rentals. I don't put those in my rentals. Those are only for the flips. Only for the flips. I think what I did was that if it's a rental that I plan on moving into, I put the water line in, and then when I see how much I can get in rent from it, I'm like, never mind. I'd rather be rich and homeless than. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, I always try to put a water line. Not even try. I absolutely put water lines in my flips. And I absolutely get fridges that have the ability to do water line and things of that nature. Worth every dollar, no complaints on that. And man, that's pretty much it, man. You want to do adequate lighting. You know, look how bright it is. I mean, sure, it's a bright sunny day, but you have tons and tons and tons of lighting. It's just clean, man. You know, I don't try to kill myself and trying to match it. You can always do a white cabinet. You can always do a grayish countertops, right? You can always do grayish brushed nickel handles, and you can always do a backsplash that accents either the gray or the stainless steel. I mean, you know, or the brushed nickel, and call it a day. I mean, this is timeless. It's always going to look good. I prefer to go with light, especially because the floors are awesome. I always try to go with light floors, something along the lines of what you're looking at now, or maybe a gray, which is something similar, more similar to the tile that you see in the enclosed porch area, and just kind of rock with it. A lot of people spend so much time on picking the color, like they fret about the color and things like that, and that is the least. I mean, outside of doing some crazy, you know, things, I just try to keep it very neutral. I keep it very neutral, where you still give whoever moves into the space the ability to customize and do what they need to do. But from a very simple standpoint, I don't think too much about it, man. I know that I'm going to get a gray countertops. I know that I'm going to do you know, a grayish. I know I'm going to get gray countertops. I'll probably do a whitish gray cabinets, whitish countertops, a backsplash that's in between, you know, in between the gray and the white, and I just slam it up. That's it. You don't have to overthink this. There are some numerous pictures online of dope kitchens that you can just copy and just run with it. Whatever is the cheapest, I mean, run with it. I think that the emphasis is more so on things like the quality of the finish. The quality of the finish, you know what I mean? Focusing on getting a funky fixture like what you're seeing here, like this industrial sprayer, dope, right? Focusing on little things like the button that does the garbage disposal, a deep industrial sink, little things like that are what's going to be more important than agonizing over the color palette. Go very basic. Don't try to simplify it. The focus should be on the quality of the work, right, than anything else. Making sure you have adequate lighting, making sure you have adequate outlets, making sure the floor is leveled and even, making sure all the cabinets open and close and they're not, you know, bumping into each other, or whatever the case may be. Making sure you have enough space to open your oven without bumping stuff. Making sure that your dishwasher fits and you don't see anything behind it. You know what I mean? So many people screw up the install of a dishwasher. This is how a dishwasher should look like. You don't see any spaces around or behind it, right? It's just there. It's plush. It looks like it was built to fit in that space. Properly measured, properly installed, beautiful. You won't believe some of the dishwasher installs that I've seen on houses that are listed for sale, and it just makes me so frustrated. But anyways, that's it. And of course, if you're able to put a deck, then do it. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, who hates a deck? You can't go wrong with a deck. Come on, guys. Throw the deck in at any time that you possibly can. Throw the deck in. You'll never regret it. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You know, so if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please subscribe, like, and comment. Don't forget to turn on notifications. Any questions about this process or anything you think that I've forgotten, or any insights that you think other people might benefit from, please feel free to you know, drop a comment. All right. So again, my name is Ugo Opara, PA licensed real estate agent and investor and coach. Right. So coach. And don't forget to check out all the details in the info section below this video. All right. Thanks.